In Lesson 4.4, Day 2, you will be writing an equation passing through a point that is parallel or perpendicular to a given line. Remember, parallel lines have the same slope, and perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Example 1 says, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through negative 3, 5 and is parallel to the graph of y equals 2x minus 4. Since we want one that is parallel, we want a slope of 2. So we want m to equal 2 because parallel lines have slopes that are the same. And we want it to go through this point. So basically, we're going to write an equation that has a slope of 2 that's going through the point negative 3, 5. There are two different ways you could do this. You could either use slope-intercept form like we did earlier in the chapter. Remember, y equals mx plus b. And then you will plug in this for m, this for x, and this for y. So 5 equals 2 times x, which is negative 3, plus b. So we have 5 equals negative 6 plus b. So then to solve for b, you would add 6 to both sides, and you get b equals 11. Once you know that b equals 11, and we already knew that m equals 2, then you would write y equals m, which is 2, x plus b, which is 11. The way your book shows to do this is to use the slope-intercept form, or not the slope-intercept form, the point-slope form. Point-slope, remember, is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So we know that m is going to be 2 because we want it to be parallel, and we know we want it to go through this point. So it's going to be y minus the y value, so y minus 5 equals 2 times the quantity x minus a negative 3. Minus a negative 3 is really plus a positive 3. So y minus 5 equals 2x plus 3. Then go ahead and do distributive property. Multiply everything over here by 2, so 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times a positive 3 is positive 6. Now to get this in slope-intercept form, we're going to take this minus 5 and move it to the other side, or add 5 to both sides. And you get y equals 2x plus 11. Now this way in green might take a little bit less work, but we did a bunch of problems like this over here in the red already. You can choose whichever way you would prefer. Next up, you may want to pause the video and try the next one on your own. Write an equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through 4, negative 1 and is parallel to the graph of y equals 1/4 x plus 7. Well, if I want it to be parallel, I want the slope to be 1/4. And this time it's asking for it to be in point-slope form and going through that point. So I'm going to go ahead and use the y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And in place of y1, we're going to put negative 1. So y minus a negative 1 is really y plus 1. And then in place of m, we're going to put 1/4 because we want it to be parallel. So we want it to have the same slope. And then it's going to be x minus x1, which is going to be 4. So x minus 4. All right, the next examples is going and writing an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through a certain point and is perpendicular to a certain graph. If it's perpendicular, you want the slope to be opposite reciprocals. Now in this first example, we have the equation in standard form. We need to first change that standard form equation into slope-intercept form so you can identify the slope. So 2x plus 3y equals 12. To get that into slope-intercept form, we're going to take this 2x and move it to the other side. When you cross the line, you change the sign. So it's going to be 3y equals, this 2x is going to become a negative 2x when we move it over here, and then plus 12. Now to get it into slope-intercept form, we still need to divide both sides by 3. I'm going to make sure I divide each term by 3 over here. Y equals, we're going to go ahead and leave that as a fraction, negative 2/3 x, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So since the slope of the line is negative 2/3, the slope of the line perpendicular to it is going to be a positive 3/2. So we're looking for the slope to be positive 3/2 because that's what would be perpendicular to this line. So now to come up with an equation in slope-intercept form, I'm going to go ahead and write slope-intercept form down. Y equals mx plus b. And in place of y, I'm going to put the y value for the point that we wanted to go through. In place of m, I'm going to put 3/2. In place of x, I'm going to put the x value of the point it's supposed to go through. And then we're going to figure out what b is. So we have 6 equals 3/2 times a negative 4. That's going to be a negative 6 plus b. Then add 6 to both sides. End up with b equaling 12. So we know we want the y-intercept to be 12 and we want the slope to be 3/2. So the equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 3/2 x plus 12. You may want to pause the video and try the next one on your own. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 4, 7 and is perpendicular to the graph of y equals 2/3 x minus 1. If we want it to be perpendicular, we wanted an opposite reciprocal of that slope. So the opposite reciprocal of 2/3 is negative 3/2. So we want the slope to be a negative 3/2. And since we want an equation in slope-intercept form, I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in the y value, which is 7, the m value, which is negative 3/2, the x value, which is 4, and we'll solve it to find out what b is. Negative 3/2 times 4, that's going to be negative 6. And then to get b alone, we're going to add 6 to both sides. 7 plus 6 is 13. So the y-intercept is 13, and we know the slope is going to be negative 3/2. So once I know those two pieces of information, I can write y equals m, which is negative 3/2, x plus b, which is 13.